Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and hauntings.
For today's special feature, we're talking about haunted theme parks in Pennsylvania. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
Let's get into it. This season, we're being sponsored by our friends at Haunted US. They travel the country bringing you real stories of American hauntings every Thursday at hauntedus.com. So, haunted theme parks. I am hype for this one.
Me too.
I thought they were all going to be outside of PA, but we found 4 in PA. So, very, very exciting.
That, honestly, it surprises me because you think not many theme parks would be haunted.
Right.
But the zoo. I mean, we covered zoos, so...
That's true.
Why not theme parks?
I knew of 3 of these places.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised there's this many theme parks in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
So the first is HersheyPark. Then we'll do Kennywood. Then Dorney Park. And then, I don't know how to pronounce this one. Conneaut Lake? Conneaut Lake?
I think Conneaut.
Okay. We'll go with Conneaut. So those are the 4. And I've been to the first 3. Have you ever even heard of the 4th one?
No.
Neither have I.
I don't even think I've heard of Conneaut, the city, or the town.
I have because they have a haunted hotel there.
Oh.
The Hotel Conneaut is haunted. And it's on my list of places for us to go.
Yes.
But, that's a seasonal place because it's a lake shore. And
yes.
Summers are busy. So, starting with HersheyPark. We both grew up not far from here.
Yes.
I was going to say but both of us. Have you been to HersheyPark?
Yeah. Actually, I was there the first time I was there was 9/11.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. We pulled into the parking lot and then it happened. And so my dad went boop and we turned around.
That's fair.
And went back home. But then I went for 8th grade.
Okay.
Choir.
Okay. So you've been into the actual park?
Yes.
Okay. So I've been to a few times and I was actually just here for the Foo Fighters concert. It was not in the park, but in the stadium.
Yes.
But close. So I'll take it. And I've heard and have heard since I was younger that HersheyPark was haunted. And I always figured it was some roller coaster tragedy. Have you seen Final Destination?
No.
Okay. That makes sense. One of the Final Destinations is they're on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And ever since I saw that when I was younger, that's all I think about on roller coasters. Because what happens is they get stuck hanging upside down. And so the blood is rushing to their head and then they try to release the seats to get them out. But then they have to hang on and stuff. And then they're drop and die. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, it's from the 2000s. So I thought it was going to be like that for all of these.
Yes.
But actually, really none of these are like that. This one, instead, is a haunted lighthouse. And I did not know this, but Milton Hershey, when he built HersheyPark, he built it in 1906, May of 1906. And then 23 years later, in July of 1929, he added a pool complex, which I guess makes sense. A lot of amusement parks have some water stuff, but it doesn't have it anymore, which is why I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
It was closed in the 1970s because, drumroll, people kept drowning. So that's how it became haunted.
I was never allowed in the water parks as a kid. I've never really been into one.
Really?
Yeah, my parents were very against the water parks.
Now why?
So there are a lot of reasons. My parents were very much the you don't need a reason type thing. So I never actually knew why they said no. But I think it was because either it was kind of dangerous. So when there's a lot of people, they couldn't keep their eyes
Fair.
Or, I'm pretty sure my parents thought, people peed in there all the time.
I think people do.
Which I guess they do, but...
David, as a rule, hates water parks for that reason. So I was going to say, there's a lot of reasons to not like water parks.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if David and I ever take our kids to a water park. I feel like that's going to be a me thing. Because David hates them so much.
Yeah.
And, it's that old splintery wood, I don't know. Who came up with water parks as a concept? I guess in the 1920s, it was a little different.
Yeah.
But there was this lighthouse as part of it that stood kind of as a beacon. You know how they do the big structures. And it's believed that over time, the spirits of those people that drowned came to reside in the lighthouse.
Oh.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, I was Hey, that's a nice place. Hershey
Right.
Park. You get a
Smells
ton
like
of chocolate smells.
Yes. Literally. If you've never been to Hershey, PA, it is decked out in chocolate. Milton Hershey built it as a town for the people that worked in his factories. And because the factory is still there, it smells like chocolate. The street lights are Hershey Kisses. Like, it's a very adorable town. They say it's the sweetest place on earth.
Which is real cute.
It is cute. But not if you're drowning.
No.
But these apparitions are seen around and in the lighthouse, and they appear to be in old-fashioned swimwear, which makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
Now, I was like, I've been here. I've never seen this lighthouse. Why? It was removed in 2019, which is still kind of weird because it was there when we were there.
Yes.
But I don't remember seeing it. It used to be in Chocolate Town, and they removed it and put a fountain in called the Kisses Fountain.
Okay.
But I don't remember seeing a lighthouse, but I guess, like, you don't really take note of the buildings unless they're associated with rides.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Kennywood. I was just there in July, and I probably couldn't name the buildings. I could just name the rides.
Yes.
So I think it makes sense that we don't remember this lighthouse.
Yeah.
But since it has been moved, the hauntings have not really been reported at the same frequency, if at all.
Okay.
So people do think it was really associated with the lighthouse. And I think it makes sense.
Yes, and I'm kind of wondering if, like, well, I guess it's just removed, isn't it? I
Yeah.
don't know if there are remnants of it somewhere, but I wonder if wherever the remnants are is now experiencing the spirits that
That's a
were
good
here.
point.
Or if they destroyed everything, I wonder if that kind of sets their spirits free. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true. It could be like they had all this unfinished business and we're trapped here, but now the final part of the pool complex is finally gone. So maybe they're
Yeah.
like, can move on.
Yes.
I like that narrative. So that's Hershey Park and the hauntings there. Again, I thought that it was going to be like roller coaster, something happened, but nope, just drownings in the pools. And I think that makes a lot of sense for the 1930s.
Definitely.
There was not a lot of safety things.
Probably no lifeguards.
Yeah, right.
Maybe.
Here's a pool, have some fun.
Yeah.
Here's a slide I built out of nails in my backyard. Like, I'm sure it wasn't like that, but, a little different.
Yeah.
So next is Kennywood, which is located right here in Pittsburgh. And I was so excited to see this on the list. It came up a few times because of the Kennywood Fright Nights. Like, whenever you Google Haunted Amusement Park, like, the Halloween events come up, and I'm like,
Right.
No, give me the real story. And we were just talking on Saturday night about how we've never been to Fright Nights at Kennywood.
Yeah.
And that we have to go this year. But I have been a lot of other times. Have you also been?
Yes.
Okay. So we're familiar with Kennywood. They also have a lot of other cool events like holiday lights and fun things to do. So the park originally opened in 1898, which I guess I knew, but that's really old.
That is.
And it opened as a trolley park to start.
Which makes sense.
I guess that's true. And Pittsburgh did used to have like trolleys.
Yeah.
That's a good point. And it changed hands a lot of times. In 1911, there was a fire. It was actually an arsonist that lit it. And it destroyed the arcade, the theater, and the shooting gallery. And it damaged what is or was the old mill.
Oh, I know what that
Yeah.
is. They're right at the front, right?
Yes, yeah. It was Garfield's
Yes.
for a while, and now it's the old mill again, I think. I think it's the old mill again. But yeah,
It
it was
is.
Garfield's for a while.
It is because the last time, that's like one of the only rides that Zach and I do because we both don't really love roller coasters, and so we love that ride. But I remember him saying, like, it used to be a Garfield thing, and then they changed it.
It was
back.
weird. It was like Spooky Garfield.
Yes. And people complained because everybody loved the old mill ride, so
Yeah.
they changed it back.
That's interesting. I didn't know that that's why they changed it. Have you done Ghostwood Estates there?
Why do I feel like I have?
It's where you like hunt the...
Yes.
Yeah. It's literally, the premise of it is so funny. It's like, I'm a rich man that owned this house, and now there's too many spirits here. Help me eradicate them. It's funny, but I like
It's
the
funny.
ride.
I hit none of them.
Really? Oh
yeah,
my
because
gosh.
you're moving,
we're
and then
so
you have to
competitive at it.
like move the thing. This is like when Pokemon Snap was the thing.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a video game, sort of like Pokemon Go, but instead of like shooting the thing at the Pokemon, you have to like get a picture of it with your camera.
Oh, that's
but
cool.
You're moving, so you're like moving in this vehicle, and like and I can't aim, so like it's just swinging all over the place. That's how I felt. That's how I feel on that ride.
It's such a fast ride, and I always want to see the mechanics, because whenever you hit the target, something happens.
Yes.
So it's like you have to decide. You're going in to either be competitive and like hit the most spirit targets, or you're going in to just like sit back and watch the ride.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I feel like you have to ride it 1,000 times. Also because it's spooky.
Yeah.
But I digress. So there was another fire that happened, and it was in 1975. And this one was the ghost ship ride, which we are unfamiliar with because they then disassembled the ghost ship. And it actually happened with the riders on the ride. So the guests that were on the ride smelled smoke, and apparently people could see in the distance like the smoke and ran over to it. Luckily, they were able to get everybody out of the ride once they realized that it was actually actively on fire with people inside of it. And apparently the manager that day, like after they evacuated everybody from the like car itself, so it theoretically should have been clear, he ran back into the fire just to make sure that there was no staff in there and that everybody was out. Aww. So that's really cool. It didn't say the person's name, but very heroic of that person. And there was no sprinkler system at the time, which seems kind of weird for the 70s.
Yes.
But I don't know about health and safety guidelines. So the fire like burnt the building to the ground.
So that's probably, I mean, they had to disassemble that, then I'm assuming. There's no way to like pick that back up.
And what sucks is the building was actually a historic dance hall that had been used in the 50s and 60s, and they had preserved the floor in case they ever wanted to turn it into a dance hall again, but then it burned down.
Right.
So because these were both pretty severe fires and one was arson, people say that there's a curse on Kennywood of fires, and they say that they happen every 60 years, which allegedly it was 64 years between them.
Yeah.
But apparently every 60 years, which I think is interesting because that means another fire should happen in like 11 years.
Yeah.
So
coming up.
We'll see.
I know. I was going to say, I don't know what we're going to be doing in 11 years, but I think we have to hold on to this one to see if a third one happens.
Yeah.
Because there's only two.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was like,
there's only two. It could just be it could just be a thing that it happened 64 years after it. Also, the first one was on purpose.
Yes.
So I don't know if, like, maybe people think that the arsonist is what cursed the park.
But it's only two.
Yeah.
In over 100 years. In almost 130 years.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
We'll
11
see.
years.
11 years. Set a reminder in our phones now. It's funny. Like, what will we be doing? And it'll be like, check for Kennywood fire this year. Because it doesn't say when, so like any time.
Right.
In the year 2035. But yeah, I thought that one was interesting. Again, I take it with a grain of salt. I think for it to be a fire curse, I would like to see it happening more significantly.
Yes.
But maybe it is every 60 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the person that lit the first fire was like 60 years old and there's some significance to the number that we don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was the Kennywood hauntings.
Hi listeners! We're so excited to tell you about our partnership with Haunted US. Haunted US is an online publication that brings you credible articles on the history and specific paranormal claims of haunted locations across the country. We've even used them to research some of our episodes. Visit hauntedus.com for new haunted places every Thursday.
Now, Dorney Park. You were excited about this one because it was close to you, right?
Yes, this is the one I've been to the most because I was like a huge theme park kid when I was younger. And so, yeah, this was probably like 30 minutes from where we lived.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So, a lot. Yeah, I've been here too. And it also has a water park portion, right?
Yes.
Not that you ever got to go into it.
Literally not even once. Like, never.
Oh, no. That makes me sad. Literally not one. They're like, you can look. Don't get any ideas. Especially because you don't like roller coasters.
Well, I did as a kid.
Okay.
So I remember the day that my dad was like, do you want to like try the roller coasters? And then I did like all of them at one time.
At Dorney
like,
Park specifically?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so like I remember the day. I mean, I don't remember the exact day, but I remember the time when my dad and I rolled them all for the first time. So I did
cool.
like get to do stuff when I was younger. I think now my head just gets so like dizzy.
Yeah. It can be really disorienting. And like, I don't know how much more adrenaline I need.
Right. Just everyday life.
Right. I'm like, ooh, it's kind of a scary time. So, interestingly, Dorney Park itself isn't haunted, but it's the carousel there. Have you been? Okay, so you've been on it.
Yeah.
Okay, this will be interesting. We'll talk about the haunting, and then I'm interested to hear if you've had any experiences.
Yeah.
So it inherited a carousel from Cedar Point Frontier Town, which is a very famous amusement park in Ohio, in 1921, and it's still operational today, which is why I was like, maybe you've been on it.
Yes.
And it's an antique carousel that was all hand carved, which is really, really cool.
Yes.
The carver was carving these horses, and he had them in his shop attached to his home. And so his wife would come out and look at them, and she really favored this black military horse, apparently to an almost like weird degree. And every time they would go to Cedar Point, she would specifically ride on that horse, and she loved it. So when she passed away, her spirit could be seen at Cedar Point riding that horse on the carousel. When they moved it to Dorney Park, they took off some of the animals, one of them being the black military horse. And so now she's angry. So she allegedly haunts the carousel, and she's seen not riding it, but just standing, looking around as if she's looking for her horse. And apparently the park staff really believe that it's haunted, so much so that two of the things she'll do is she'll turn the carousel lights on and off on her own, or it has like organ music that plays in the center. She'll turn the music on or off on her own. And when that happens, they close the ride for the night. Now, some could say they could think it's electrical shortage, but I think it's really interesting because if it was an electrical issue, they would just fix it.
Yeah.
You know, your Dorney Park.
Yes.
No, she's mad that her horse is not an option anymore, and she's going to let you know. And if she can't ride her horse, no one can ride the carousel.
Right.
Which I think is so funny.
Yes.
So, what has your experience been on the carousel?
I don't think I ever experienced anything like that. I will say I think I remember it being closed a ton, so there's that. But I don't know if I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a bias. I can't fully remember it, but I used to, I mean, I loved it. I love the carousel. They're so fun. I think every time I went, I tried to be like, oh, like this is my like I'm gonna pick a horse and then I'm gonna ride it every single time. But then by the time I got there again, I would be like, I don't remember which one I chose last time because there's so many. But I liked it. I liked that ride. The only thing I remember is that maybe it was closed frequently.
I mean, it is an antique carousel it's over 100 years old, from 1921. So it could just have some issues, but I really like that there's the spiteful carver's wife.
I had the story, never heard of this before, which is really interesting.
And I think it's also interesting, like, I know at Kennywood there's a lot of historical rides and they have plaques and stuff up, but this stuff is really cool. I wonder if Dorney Park has any information on it in the park itself where you can see, like, this is a hand-carved carousel from the 1920s. That's amazing. And hand-painted.
I will say it was beautiful. Like, the horses I remember were very intricate, which was cool.
I don't remember. I've only been there one time, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't, and honestly, my family probably didn't ride the carousel because we're all roller coaster people except my dad. But yeah, interesting. Very, very interesting. And again, not a roller coaster associated death haunting.
Yeah.
So they've all been really cool and unique, I think.
Yes.
This next one, I'd never even heard of this place. It's Conneaut Lake Park in Conneaut Lakeshore, Pennsylvania. And I looked at pictures of it, and it does seem like it's geared a lot towards young children, almost like Dutch Wonderland in Lancaster.
Yes.
Where there's some bigger rides, but there's like a very extensive kiddie land. And I found one couple, the like Our Haunted Travels is their YouTube name, that went and investigated it. So a lot of the information comes from them. It first opened in 1892, and paranormal investigators, including Our Haunted Travels, have produced a variety of EVPs throughout the park, which I think is really cool. This is the only one that seems to have a proper investigation and proper evidence. And one thing that's commonly heard is the word boo, and it's specifically right next to a roller coaster called the Blue Streak Coaster, which was a wooden coaster built in the 1930s. And here is, for everybody that's been waiting, where your roller coaster death comes in. It was in operation until 2022, and it was, I know, there are coasters that old at Kennywood, I think.
That's such a long time that it was in operation, and also that is very recent.
That's very recent. And even more interesting is that a man on July 24th, 1949 was killed falling 20 feet off of the ride. And they didn't close it.
Which is crazy to me.
Like what?
I know.
Instead, they kept it for 72 more years, 73 more years running. And park officials stated that it was a no-fault scenario because the safety restraints were not properly secured. And again, I'm guessing in the 40s, it was just different. Like, their argument, I think, was, did the person running the ride not check him, or did he undo his safety restraints? You know, like,
yes.
Because I'm guessing they were pretty different then. If it's just like a buckle, you could undo it.
Yeah.
Not like today where you have to be like in and out.
Strapped in, yeah.
But people say that he's the one that says boo to scare people by this Blue Streak coaster, because he's left there because of the unfinished business of what actually caused his death. Was it his fault or the park's fault?
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. And when you said that the person or the spirit says boo, my first thought immediately, because I don't think we've ever had a spirit that has actually said boo. And my thought process was, I don't know if this theme park does haunt nights, but maybe it's been around for the haunt nights and has watched.
That's funny.
Actual actors freak out at people and then is like mimicking them.
Yeah, it's like, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
They have some haunted nights. It's not every year, and they stopped running a lot of stuff because of COVID, because it is a smaller park.
Yes.
But they have had haunted nights. So that's a cool theory for it. There are also other EVPs captured. I like that story, the previous one, because it's distinct, but there are other EVPs throughout the park, specifically around the ticket booth, which I think makes a lot of sense, because that's like how you would get in. Think of the amount of people that have gone through. I mean, all of these parks, really, they're all so old.
Yes.
It's crazy to me to think that theme parks are this old. But this one, I mean, it's built in 1892.
Yeah.
So 132 years of people have walked past that ticket booth and used it, and it's still functional. Of course, you're going to get residual energy and sounds from it.
Right. And being at the ticket booth also makes sense to me, because I think whether they're, I mean, I don't know if the spirits are coming or going, but I think if they are kind of in the vicinity of the amusement park, then at some point they're going to be like, okay, it's time for me to go.
Yeah,
and walk
that's true.
towards the entrance/exit.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that it would be at that transitional place.
And I think it's interesting because there was no other deaths that I could find reported. So to me, these are spirits actively choosing to be there, which I always love.
If I was a spirit, I would love to be at an amusement park. I would ride the roller coasters if I was a spirit and had nothing to lose.
I think it would be cool to go on the haunted rides, or be at Fright Night at these if you were a spirit. Imagine being at Ghostwood Estates in Kennywood and you are a spirit. And people are like, oh my God, the animation's so good. And you're like, gotcha. Right? That'd be fun.
It would be.
Oh, man.
Also Dippin' Dots, man. I could have Dippin' Dots for the rest of my life and be
for the rest
content.
of your afterlife.
Yeah. Or life.
Yeah.
I get both. No protein for the rest of my life. I just have Dippin' Dots.
Calcium. And there's and it's dairy, so there's some protein. I'm not recommending a diet of Dippin' Dots, but that would really hurt your stomach if that's all you ate.
Yeah, that would be really bad.
So, hearing these 4 hauntings, would you still go to all of these theme parks?
Yeah.
Would you... Well, I guess it's only one haunted ride. Well, 2 haunted rides. Would you ride the haunted rides?
Yes.
I would.
Yeah. Not if they were but I don't think any of them were roller coasters.
Well, the Blue Streak coaster, if it was still there.
Yeah.
Probably not. But that's just because you don't like roller coasters.
Yeah.
I would do it, but I would be nervous. Like, knowing that someone's died on a roller coaster, even if it was 70 years ago, would make me nervous.
Yes, definitely. I think the carousel would be interesting, definitely at Dorney, because again, I've been on it so many times that it would be kind of cool to go on it again with a different like perspective of what I'm there for.
And I think that's the most investigatable one. Like, we could just set up with like a spirit box and an EMF reader and a thermometer on the ride and look for evidence and like take video of it. So I think that's the most investigatable one if we were to ever actually try to do a paranormal investigation.
Yes.
Because, I mean, HersheyPark, that's gone. Kennywood, you can't really capture evidence of a curse. And then the Conneaut Lake Park, obviously you can get the EVPs.
Right. No, I think that would be really cool. I love HersheyPark so much, so it would be nice to go back there. But yeah, since the lighthouse is gone, it feels like where would we do the investigation? Yeah,
I want to go back. Definitely to Dorney Park because I completely forgot about it.
I freaking love that place.
We gotta go. Road trip. I know we have a million haunted locations to go to, but Dorney Park it is.
Yes.
Well, that is it for the haunted theme parks. I'm sure there are tons more. There's tons outside of Pennsylvania. A ton came up when I was searching. So if you have a haunted theme park story, let us know. You can send it to us on social media at Paranormal in Pennsylvania or via email at paranormalinpennsylvania@gmail.com. Thank you for tuning in for this week's episode of History and Hauntings. Tune in next Thursday to see what we discuss next. Stay spooky, my friends.